So we are saying now F is equal to S into 1 plus inflation of country C all over 1 plus inflation of country B. And we are saying that how you can determine this is depending on the exchange that you're given. So look at this, it is the a pound that is down, so that is UK. So you're going to have S into, in fact, S now is 1.5 times inflation into this, that is 1.02 all over. UK is down, right? So it is 1.4. So UK is down, we're going to have it here, that is 1.0.2. The 1.02. I hope that is what you've done. And so you got the answer to be 1.5294. That should be the answer. So this is the forward rate. That is the forward rate in that particular case. I want us now to look at other areas on the same purchasing power parity. You'll say forecasting foreign currency exchange rates. Forecasting foreign currency exchange rates. Forecasting foreign currency exchange rates. Then you say introduction. If the currency of a country is allowed to float, if the currency of a country is allowed to float, comma, then the exchange rate against other currencies will fluctuate. If the currency of a country is allowed to float, comma, then the exchange rate against other currencies will fluctuate, full stop. The exchange rate will fluctuate, full stop. We shall therefore consider the factors that affect exchange rates. We shall therefore consider the factors that affect exchange rate. We shall therefore consider the factors that affect exchange rate. We shall therefore consider the factors that affect exchange rates. And look at two arithmetical approaches. To attempting to forecast a future exchange rate. For attempting to forecast the future exchange rates. So let's look at factors affecting the exchange rates. Factors that affect exchange rate between one country and the other. The first one is inflation, or the rate of inflation in the two countries. The rate of inflation in the two countries. Number two, the level of interest rates in the two countries. The levels of interest in the two countries. Economic and political prospects. Economic and political prospects. Balance of payment. Of course, balance of payment is about the exchange, export and import. So unapata wewe unalipa mingi more than what they are paying. It means that one country is exporting more. If you are exporting more, that country, the other country that you're trading with, will be paying much to you. So it means that the foreign currencies will be scarce if you are importing a lot. You will keep on looking for the foreign currency to convert so that you go and purchase. That makes the foreign currency scarce, but your local currency more. And that is how the exchange rates are affected. When a foreign currency is scarce, the exchange rate now goes up. Their prices goes up because of scarcity. So let's look at inflation rate, which is also called purchasing power parity. Inflation rate or purchasing power parity. I want to write that purchasing power parity, the purchasing power parity theory, uses inflation rates to predict the future movements. Purchasing power parity theory uses the inflation rate to predict the future movement in exchange rates. Purchasing power parity theory uses inflation rates to predict the future movements in exchange rates. To predict the future movement in exchange rates. Full stop. It states that identical goods, the theory, purchasing power theory states that identical goods should sell the same price when converted into the same currency. Identical goods should sell the same price when converted into the same currency. Sijui kama tunaelewana? So we're talking about bread in Uganda and bread in Kenya. We are saying that the price of bread in Uganda, if you convert it to Kenyan currency, it should be equal to the same price. It should be equal to the price of the same bread in Kenya when you are now in Kenya. Tuko sawa? Uganda iko na currency yao, tumekubali. Kenya iko na currency yake, tumekubali. A loaf of bread in Uganda will cost you something. If you convert that something to Kenyan shillings, that should be equivalent to the same price of the loaf in Kenya. If they are different, then it means that one country has got inflation, another one does not have. Or inflation in one country is another one is higher than in another country. And that is why we are saying that the purchasing power parity theory uses inflation rates to predict the future movements in exchange rates. The theory states that identical goods that are the same, like bread, should sell the same price. They should be sold at the same price when converted into the same currency. So that if you change, like bread in Kenya is now 60 bob. If you change that 60 to Ugandan shilling, it is going to give you a certain amount in Uganda. That amount should be the price of bread in Uganda. Should be the same price of bread in Uganda. Full stop. As the local currency prices change with inflation, 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 then the exchange rate should change to keep the relative price in the same level. Right? As the local currency prices change with inflation, then the exchange rates should change to keep the relative prices the same. To keep the relative prices the same. As the local currency prices change, then with inflation, then the exchange rate should change to keep the relative price the same. So I want us to look at it practically and understand what we are saying. So today, let's say that the exchange rate between Kenya and Tanzania and Uganda is 20 shillings. So the exchange rate, this one is 2020, 23. Our exchange rate is 20 shillings. That means that bread, loaf of bread, come in 800 grams or 600 grams or whatever. In Kenya, it is 60 bob or 90 today, if it is 800 grams or 600 grams. In Uganda, as we speak, it should be 180. It means that if you take Ugandan shillings, you convert it to Kenyan shillings using this rate, it is going to be 90. That is the cost of bread in Kenya. That is what purchasing power theory states. But then they are saying that as the local currency prices change, so that the local prices change from 90 to 150, for the purchasing theory to still work well, the exchange rate should also change. Then the exchange rate should change to keep the relative prices in the same level. If our prices are changing, right now we have agreed that they are equal. If our prices are changing, but the rate is not changing, then we are going to have a problem. The purchasing power theory will not work. The relative prices This price is called the relative price. It relates to this. It will not be the same. If the rate remains the same or constant here, but our currency has changed, then this one is not going to work. This one must change for it to work. Tunaelewana? So inflation is in Kenya, but not in Uganda. The prices exchange rates, if they remain the same, then it means that here we're going to have the same bread at 180. Haijapanda huko at the same rate of inflation. Haijapanda. But in Kenya imepanda. You can see 180 and this one is not giving us the rate. 180 and 150. How did we get 20? 20 was 180 all over 90 is equal to 20. Hapa, we also need to have 180 all over 150 to give us a certain rate, which is now the new rate. I don't know, this can be 5, this can be 6 all over 5, so that is giving you 1.2. It means that the rate has changed. The rate is now 1.2, here it equals 20. So what we are saying, according to purchasing power theory, as the prices change, this should also change for us to remain with the same ratio. So this one should also change. Inflation must be here and here. We know as one of the price of local currency changes, the rate must change. If the rate does not change, hazitaingiana. And that is why the new exchange rate is now 1.2. Inamaanisha at any given time, the exchange rate must be changing like that. That is what they are explaining. As the local currency prices change with inflation, then the exchange rate should change. The exchange rate should change as this one changed. Otherwise, if it remains stagnant, it's not going to give you the current or the new exchange rate that is going to appear. To keep the relative prices the same. To keep the relative prices the same. So you can see that inflation, the exchange rate must change for the prices to still remain relatively the same. So if it changes from this to this, then in that case, you can now say that the same price you can buy the bread in Uganda when converted to Kenyan shillings or Ugandan shillings, meaning that ukichukua Kenyan shillings with a new exchange rate, you go and buy the same bread, they are the same price. Simply convert this to this, utapata 180. So as the currency changes in both of them, this must also keep on changing. If you are constant, then they are not going to have the same purchasing power. The citizens in those countries are not going to have the same purchasing power. What I'm saying, Rachel, purchasing power works in it. It is the ability of the consumers or citizens in that country to purchase the same bread using the same price. So right now, we are in Kenya. The bread is 90 bob. Assuming that the exchange rate right now is 20, then that bread should cost 180 in Uganda. Tuko pamoja? Now, whatever exchange rate that happens, whatever changes that will happen in inflation will work in Uganda and also in Kenya. Tutakuwa na inflation in both cases. But the inflation will be at different stages, and that is why the price of Ugandan shillings saa zingine unaona inaenda juu ama chini, because of how much we are affected by inflation. The same with dollars. At some point, our dollar was 100, but right now we are at 135. So it means that the exchange rate has gone up. It means that both of us are affected by inflation, but Kenya is affected by inflation more than US, and that is why the exchange rate has gone like that. So we are saying, if the prices are changing, like now price has changed here. The price has changed there from 90 to 150. In Uganda, the price might also be changing. at a certain rate which we don't know. That rate can be like, for example, let's say from 180 to 200. At a certain rate that we don't know. Lakini sisi tumekulwa sana na inflation because our price has increased by 60 bob na hawa ni 20 bob. So unaona sisi tumeumia. So if our exchange rate was 20, lakini tumeumia, meaning that even though inflation has affected Ugandan, but their economy is improving. It has stabilized. It has not been eaten with inflation like we do. So we are saying that for the inflation has happened like that, we agree. But for us to maintain the theory, for purchasing power parity to remain, then now the exchange rate must also change. Hatuwezi kuwa na 20 bob bado. Huwezi kuwa ati sasa huyu ako hapa na huyu uko hapa and you still expect the exchange rate to be 20. No. The exchange rate must now change. It has to change because there is a change in one of the currencies. Whether it is only one or both, it has now to change. The exchange rate must change. But let's now look at this. We are saying that economy in Uganda is doing well because inflation has only increased their shillings by 20 bob, while our price has gone up by 60 bob. So we are saying that even though our economy is good at the moment, but Uganda is doing better. They are doing better because kuna ka improvement. Hawajaumia sana. How? Let's look at the exchange rate, new exchange rate. How did we get 20? It was 180 divided by 90 to get 20. So even for us to know the new exchange rate, we need now to have 200 divided by 150. So this one is going to be 5. No, this one is going to, in fact, I can have a figure that is easy to work with. Let me have here 210. So that we have 210 all over 15. This one is 5. This one is 7. So the new one is 1.4. So the new exchange rate has become 1.4. You can see that Uganda, the price of bread has only increased by 30 bob. But the Kenyan shilling, the price of bread has increased by 60 bob. So Kenyan is doing poorly. We are doing poorly. And you can see that with the exchange rate. Initially, 1 Kenyan shilling was equivalent to 20 Ugandan shillings. But right now, 1 Kenyan shilling is equivalent to 1.5, 1.4 Ugandan shillings, meaning that Ugandan currency is stabilizing. So the exchange rate is reducing. Though with the new exchange rate, the purchasing power is still the same. It is now the same. Kwa sababu, if you go to Uganda, probably this one is 2023. Now in 2026, you go to Uganda and say that you want bread. Utaambiwa bread is 210. You convert with the rate of 1.5 to Kenya shillings, 1.4 to Kenya shillings is going to be 150, which is the price of bread in Kenya, which will be the price of bread in Kenya, meaning that your 210 in Uganda, when you come to Kenya, it can still buy bread because it is equivalent to 150. So purchasing power parity has worked here. Why? Because with the change in prices, the exchange rate has also changed. Otherwise, if there are changes in prices and the exchange rate is not changing, the purchasing power is not the same, it's not working. The purchasing power parity is not working. The purchasing power parity believes that at any given time, the price of a commodity in one country, when converted to the other country's currency, should be the same. So the price of bread in Uganda is 210. When you convert 210 to Kenya shillings, at that point with the existing rate is 150. Ukienda kaduka unaambiwa yes, 150 you can buy bread. 150 you can buy bread. So that's what they are saying here. They are saying that as the local currency prices change, from 90 to 150, with inflation, then the exchange rate should change. The exchange rate should change from 20 to whatever amount to keep the relative prices the same, so that the relative prices can also remain the same. Otherwise, if the exchange rate is not changing, when the prices have changed, then you'll find the relative prices are not the same. Hazitakuwa sawa. lazima hii pia ibadilike kwa sababu hii imechange. That is economics. Let's look at something that is very interesting. So that is how inflation works. Kwa hivyo ukiona Ugandan shillings, the Kenyan dollars, that is why we are saying, we are now seeing that now we are now Kenya here, and this one is USA or US. So when you see that the Kenyan exchange rate has changed from 150 or 160 the way it was sometimes back to 135, 135. Unaona ime reduce, just like this one has reduced from 20 to 1.4, 160 to 135. Unaambiwa the country is doing better. Yes, it is doing better. Though you can see now Kenya is now up to 10. This one is at 150. It is doing better because even though the US currency is still stronger than ours, in terms of the relative movement in prices, the inflation effect, we are doing better. And that is why the exchange rate has reduced between the two countries. However, we are happy. We are saying economy is doing well. Wewe unaona prices za vitu ziko juu. Imekuwa juu from 180 to 210. Lakini economics bado wanakuambia ati hii iko sawa, hii iko better. Hata sasa tunalia the prices are high. Lakini economists wanatuambia the economy is growing. It's growing because of the relative changes in price, the relative prices between us and other countries. Sasa so hata unga ikipanda lakini unaona exchange rate nayo inarudi chini. Economists unasema the country is doing well. Na wewe unashangaa. Hapo imeingia, si ndio? So let's look at an example. An item cost pounds 100 in UK. That is the value of item, call it clothes or whatever. The current exchange rate is that is the current exchange rate. The rate of inflation (2% in the UK and 4%. 2% in the UK and 4% per annum. So 2% per annum. Required. A. What will be the price of the item in 1 year's time? What will be the price of the item in 1 year's time? In the UK and in the US. In the UK and in the USA. That is the first one. Number B. As a result, what will be the exchange rate in 1 year's time? What will be the exchange rate in 1 year's time? As a result, what will be the exchange rate in 1 year's time? So the first question is that they are saying that an item, now we are comparing purchasing power parity of two countries. An item currently costs 100 pounds in UK. The current exchange rate between the pounds and US dollars is this one. The rate of inflation are given as follows. In the US, that is 2% per annum in the UK and 4% in the US. What will be the price of the item in 1 year's time? So, what is the price of the item in 1 year's time? Where do we start from? The price of the items in 1 year's time. Where do we start from? As a result of inflation keeps on changing. Inflation keeps on changing at 2% per year. Yani every year, the price of the property increases by 2%. That is what we are saying. Or the item in UK. But in US, it increases by 4%. So they want the price in 1 year's time. What will be the price in US and in UK? So let's look at the price in UK. Price of the item in UK is equal to 100. See, it was pounds, so it is 100 times 1 plus inflation. Inflation is 2%, eh? So it is 2. Inflation itaongezeka na hiyo price ya inflation. So the price will be 100 times 1.02. That will be how much? 102 pounds. Be pounds 102. That will be the price in UK. After 1 year, itakuwa imesonga from 100 that it was to 102 as a result of inflation. Tuko pamoja? So the current price is 100. In a year's time, it will be 102 because of inflation. What about the price in US? What about the price in US? So the price in US, you need first to convert what we are having into US currency or United States. So tulipewa 100 pounds. So currently, what is the equivalent of that in US dollars? So you say that if 1 USD is equal to 1.5, that is the exchange rate currently. Then the price of that property should be what in dollars? What is going to be equivalent to 100 pounds? Yani tunajaribu kuangalia, this item was 100 pounds today. What is its equivalent in US dollars? Ndio tujue the equivalent price of that item today in US dollars. Ndio tuangalie in the next few years, what will be the price? So what are you getting? Or am I doing it the opposite way? Read the question again. So we are going to have that. Yes. So that is 66.6. Eh? That is 66.6. 0.67 US dollars. All right. So in 1 year's time, it's going to be, in 1 year's time, is going to be 66.67 into 1 plus 0.04. That will be the price in 1 year's time. But let me see the exchange rate. I think the exchange rate should be the opposite. Just change something there. There's a mistake somewhere there on the exchange rate from the question. The exchange rate should be 1.5 USD per pound. I think that is how it should appear instead of the other side, the other way around. So that it means that you are given the amount of dollars that can give you 1 pound. So if you use that exchange rate, then now the current price, you can say that if 1 pound is giving you 1.5 US dollars, then 100 pounds is equal to what? So the exchange rate was not well written. So we are going to have 100 times 1.5. That will be 150 USD. That should be the price. So I meant somewhere there. I think it was not well typed. I meant the exchange rate for a question. Then use that. That is equivalent in pounds. So meaning that because of the differences in inflation rate, in 1 year's time, the price will be this. When in UK, the same item will cost one or two. In USD, in US, it will be 150. Now the examiner is asking you, as a result of this, what will be the exchange rate in 1 year's time? How do you get the exchange rate now in 1 year's time? Is it 150? Sorry, it was 150. 150 is the current one. In 1 year's time, price is going to be 150 into 1 plus 0.404. That should be 150 times 1.04. This is the current rate, 100 against 150. when the item is now 100 pounds, it is equivalent to $150. In 1 year's time, you include now the inflation effect. Just the way we calculated this term times the inflation, you also have now the US dollars times the inflation. What do you get there as the answer? In 1 year's time, what will be the price? $156, eh? Yes, 156. So that will be the price in 1 year's time. This is the current price when this one is 100. So in a year's time, it will be that. So what will be the exchange rate? So the exchange rate is just, we were having, which one was on top? It was dollars over pounds. So we're going to have in a year's time, which is now the forward rate, 1 year forward rate, 1 year forward rate is equal to the dollars to be on top, that is $150 all over 1 or 2 pounds. This one is USD all over pounds. So you're going to have how much? What will be the exchange rate in 1 year's time? For every 1 pound, how many dollars will be there? $1.5. 1.5, which is the same. Is it exactly 1.5? Remember the other one, don't round off. I told you don't round off. The other one was 1.5. After 1 year, it should have changed. Give me the correct one. Is it 1.5? Exactly. 1.256. Na ndio maana nilikuwa nasema that for the purchasing power parity to keep on working, the exchange rate must also keep on changing. Initially, ilikuwa 1.5 exactly. It can't be 1.5 in 1 year's time. It has to increase. It has to change. So can we confirm that this one is true? 1.25. Now use the formula that I gave you. Use the formula that I gave you. This one is spot rate. Sasa, 1.5 is a spot rate. So you say that 1 year's time, just prove. Hii tumemaliza, but you can prove. Prove. You say that F is equal to S times inflation 1 plus inflation in US, because US is the one that is on top, all over 1 plus inflation in UK. So I want to prove if it is true. Now, F is equal to 1.5 is the current spot rate times inflation in the US. You have given us 1 plus 0.04 all over 1 plus 0.02. So confirm kama ni kweli. Hiyo unapata ngapi? 1.04 all over 1.02. Hebu calculate kama hii inakupea the same answer as this. Hebu confirm kama itakuletea using this formula. Is it the same? Wale wako na calculate. Unapata ngapi? $1.04 divided by 1.02 has 1.5. Unapata ni ngapi? The same. Ruth is saying that they are the same, which is 1.529 as, is it 59? That is equal sawa. No, unapata 229, or is it 59 or 29? What is the correct one? 29. So even this one was 29, eh? 9 was 294. 294. Even this one is 294. Sindio? Sawa. So that one we have proved. Now, the interest rate works the same way as inflation. You only put interest on country one, lower country ingine. Interest, ukipewa interest, same way. Look at how the equation looks like. No difference. That is interest rate parity. I want us to look at a question in May 2015 and then May 2017, if possible. May 2015, question number. Yes, 2015, question number 5. A and B. The question says, you can write, explain how inflation rates could be used to forecast exchange rates. Explain how inflation rates could be used to forecast exchange rate. That is May 2015, question number A. Explain. So write, answer, say that if inflation rates between countries, if inflation rates between two countries are given, if inflation rates between, that is the answer for that question. If inflation rates between two countries are given, then we use the purchasing power parity model. If inflation rates between two countries are given, then we use the purchasing power parity model to predict exchange rate. Then we use the purchasing power parity model to predict the exchange rates. Then we use the purchasing power parity model to predict the exchange rates. Full stop. Am I too fast? If inflation rates between two countries are given, then we use the purchasing power parity model to predict exchange rates. Full stop. You proceed and say, the next paragraph, the purchasing power parity states that the exchange rates between the countries, between two countries, the exchange rate between two countries is the same in equilibrium. It states that the exchange rate between two countries is the same in equilibrium when the purchasing power, the exchange rate between two countries is the same in equilibrium when the purchasing power of the currency is the same in each country. Tunaelewa? It said that the exchange rate between two countries is the same in equilibrium when the purchasing power of the two countries is the same in each country. Is the same in each country. Full stop. The theory predicts that the exchange value of foreign currency, it predicts that the exchange value of foreign currency depends on the exchange value of foreign currency depends on relative purchasing power of each currency. The exchange value of each currency, of foreign currency, the exchange value of foreign currency depends on relative purchasing power of each currency, in its own country, and the spot exchange rate will vary over time. According to relative forces of change. And the spot exchange rate will vary over time according to relative forces changes or relative forces change. Then you write the formula that future rate is equal to S into 1 plus inflation of C all over 1 plus inflation of B. The theory predicts that the exchange value of foreign currency depends on relative purchasing power of each currency in its own country, and the spot exchange rate will vary over time according to relative forces change, or according to relative forces of change. So you have explained that. Question B. Assume that the spot rate is 100 Japanese yen per US dollar. 100 Japanese yen per US dollar, and 6-month forward rate is 101 Japanese yen per US dollar. 101 Japanese yen per US dollar. An investor can purchase a treasury bill in the United States that matures in 6 months' time. that matures in 6 months' time and earn an annual rate of return of 3%. Required the annual rate of return on a similar investment in Japan. Annual rate of return of a similar investment in Japan. So, tumeelewa hiyo question. Assume that the spot rate is given and 6-month forward rate is also given. So from this question, that was May 2015, the examiner is just testing you kama unaelewa. You've been given F, N, and S. S is given there. So S is 100. F is given as 101. They have given you inflation in one country. According to this formula, Japanese is the one on top. US dollars is the one down, right? So country C, so inflation in C is the one that we have not been given, or interest rate in country C is not given. They have given you the investor can purchase that and earn a rate of this. That is the interest rate. So interest rate in one has been given. Interest rate in B is the one that is given, 3%. Sasa nilikwambia purchasing power parity and interest power parity, and interest parity is the same. Interest rate power parity is the same. The same formula. So just say that F is equal to S times 1 plus all over 1 plus where IC is inflation, interest in the one on top, Japan. Well, IB is the interest rate in US, United States. You know, treasury bill, the return on treasury bill is not an inflation rate. It is an interest rate of return. Interest rate of return is the one for treasury bill. So these guys have not used the inflation. They have just used the interest rate. The formula is the same. Sasa hii kitu sio ngumu. Sasa si unakuja tu nasema 101 is equal to 100 into 1 plus IC all over this one is per annum. Still, the rate here is per annum. But investment is for 6 months. 6 months is a half of the year. Unaelewana? So whatever interest rate that you're given here, you need to ask yourself. From my side, the board is clear. Please adjust the board to one question. Oh, you are logged out. Sasa, the question nimerun. Can somebody send her on WhatsApp? Ama hii iko sawa? Good. So, we are saying that these rates are given per annum. Hii ni per annum, per year. But the investment is only for 6 months. It's a half a year. So you divide it by 2. So we're going to have 1 plus this one. 3 divided by, or 3 times a half. 3 times 1 over 2. Because the interest rate of return is for a whole year, but investment is for half a year. So you only, the rate should be half. So this one is 100. What is the answer? So this one is for 6 months. Ruth, whatever you've gotten is for 6 months. Now, for it to be per year, it's only for 6 months. Because we have reduced this to 6 months. So this one per annum is equal to 2.515 times 2. It is going to be 5 points. So interest, their fund is 5.003. Sawa. Sawa. It was converted to 6 months because the investment is for 6 months. So you're going to get the 6-month rate. But the question is the annual rate of return, annual, that is for the whole year. So you now need to multiply this by 2. I want you to now go and try question number. Try for me May 1017. And November 2018. I told you they normally come at the last stage. They are normally the last question. Question 4-5. 4-5. Hiyo ndio unamaliza nayo CPA. Unamalizia CPA hiyo. So question 5B. Try for me this. We see. We shall pick up from there. We have to do some makeup. Hii topic nimeona itakaa refu. Hii topic 5 itakuwa refu. Is it topic 5 or topic 6? Topic 5, eh? Really, topic 5 or 6? Ile corporate restructuring ilikuwa topic. This one is topic 6, not 5. Topic 6. Itakuwa refu, but is the last one, so we can spend time there. Any questions so far from what you have done? So ukiona vitu kama hizi, they should start telling you something. Hii ni la setting, eh? Kama hii ni visiting 2021. Ebu read this. Does it make sense for you? Alpha will receive US dollars 400,000 in 3 months' time. The company treasurer has determined the following. Spot rate is there. That is $1.2, $1.8, and then this one. So against which currency? You need to know. Ukipewa hivi unajiuliza currency gani? It is $1.8 per what? Which currency? 3 months time is given, which is the forward rate. Money market is given like this. So there is a sterling pound. So you know the rates are against the sterling pound per pound. The money market rates are given as follows. Determine whether forward contract hedge or money market hedge will be the undertaking. Explain 4 advantages of investment in real estate investment trust. Explain the meaning of the term cryptocurrency and give example. Check your notes. Do you have cryptocurrency? I shared it. The term cryptocurrency. Real estate investment trust. Do you know what they are? I taught you about what they are. What are they? We say that they are institutions that finance real estate businesses. They are the intermediaries. So what are the importance? Check your notes. Let me check the last sitting. Was this one? Umeona hii leading forward contract, use of options, currency option and swap options. Explain the differences. Hiyo ni last setting. Ratios ilikuwa rahisi. Hiyo uko nayo, 4 marks uko nayo. But tuko na hii notes. Use of options. Aya, soma hii question sasa. High Speed Electronics Limited has taken a delivery of 500 electronic devices from an American company. The seller is a strong bargaining position and has priced the devices in American dollars. Each this one. So you can get the price in dollars here. The seller is very strong bargaining. So the goods have been priced in dollars. That is $600. $600,000. High Speed has been granted 3-month credit and has a leap after 3 months. Assume that the interest rate of American is this one per quarter. So this is an interest rate per quarter. Ile nimewapea leo ni per annum. So kama hii ni per quarter, multiply this by 4. It is how much per annum? Ruth, what is it per annum? What is the interest rate in America per annum? Thank you. 12%. High Speed Electronic has all its money held in the operation, but it could borrow in United States dollar at an interest rate of 3% per quarter. So this is the borrowing rate, this is the lending rate. Hapo ndio sasa tunaelekea in our next class, where you will compare money market borrowing and lending money market. The following foreign exchange rates are applicable. The spot rate is given, 3 months forward rate is given. Which kind of quotation is that? Is it direct or indirect? Direct, good. A 3 months dollar call option is this one, available at a premium of this. Determine the amount payable by high speed using the following hedging strategy. Forward rates. Sasa hii ni mboga. 2 marks ni free. You know the amount is this one is dollars. They need to pay. The exchange rate in 3 months is given. This 2 marks is free. Leading option inamaanisha analipa sahihi. Analipa sahihi. Atalipa ikiwa 60. Money market we shall show you and the rest. This will be the last question. What about this? Haiko hapa. Hii. This one is called local arbitrage. I told you about arbitrage. We shall do it for 6 free marks. A group of companies controlled by the United States as subsidiaries in the United States, South Africa, and France. As at 31st November, intercompany intended to total. If the company's policy net of intercompany balances to the greatest extent possible, the central treasury uses the following exchange rates for netting off. So one US dollar is equal to 6.4 rands. 1 US dollar is equal to 0.7 pounds. 1 US dollar is equal to 6.4, 6.7, 6.1. Calculate the net of payments to be made between the subsidiaries after letting off. Sawa. Have a good night. Hicho tutafanya baadaye. Ulale poa. It is raining where I am. Have a good night.